Hello Year 12, welcome to the next video here for correlation and regression. We are looking at exercise 504, least squares regression line. Looks like a tiny little exercise here, doesn't it? Well, it does from the notes. I'm not going to explain it too much. What I'm really going to say is that it's a bit like calculating the line of best fit, but we're going to calculate it so it's precise, so it's repeatable, so you all get exactly the same answer, ideally. Yes. Now, it's sort of this name, least squares regression line, sort of kind of refers to this idea of drawing our line of best fit that we want to have sort of the minimum total distance between the points and the line. Right? I want to keep my line as close to the points as possible. That's what this process does, is it reduces that distance as much as possible of all of the points from a particular straight line. Now we need to use our calculator. We need to put it in the same setting as we do to calculate the correlation coefficient, R. Right? So it's very similar, this process is very similar to calculating the correlation coefficient. Okay, but what our calculator is going to give us is an A and a B, and, it gets a bit confusing, it's going to be written like this. We're going to say y equals bx plus a. Yeah, that makes precious little sense. I think that the b is normally tacked on the end as the constant for the y-intercept. It's not what your calculator abbreviates it to. Okay, now, let's step through this stuff with the calculator again, and hopefully it makes some sense. Let's clear off that stuff. And first of all, we're going to reset it back to factory settings. There we go. So second function, 9,3 equals AC. Next up, whoops. Ooh, not that. Sorry. Righto, next up, mode 2 for stats, and option 2 this time again, so we get X and Y columns. Righto. Now I've got to get back to my data here so that we can type that in. Righto. Here is the data. Where is my calculator? Here's my calculator. Okay, so we are going to put that data back in our calculator here. So 190, 192, 199. I'm just going to pause it. Okay, and here's some data I prepared earlier, sort of. So there we go. If we can scroll through this, we'll see there's all of that data in the X and Y columns, where the top one is the X and the bottom one is the Y. Rightio. So we've done that before. Just like finding the correlation coefficient, second function 1 and 5 for reg. Now remember we're at 3 for the correlation coefficient. See the A and B here? A is the y-intercept, B is the gradient. Makes no more sense than M and B, I guess, but let's come back to where we're going to write this down, because, really, once we write it down, we're done. There's not really a lot of maths in this. We end up with a mathematical result, but the work here is purely technical or procedural. We just need to calculate these numbers with the calculator. So this tells me my y-intercept is negative 22, approximately. I'm going to get the nearest whole number. Y equals, whoops, say, I need something minus 22. I probably should have got B first. Righto, that's A minus 22 to the nearest whole number, and back to our stats, to reg here, and option 2 is going to be our gradient, is 1.1. Let's say 1.1. 1.1x minus 22. Now that's not exactly the same. In fact, it's reasonably different from what we got in our line of best fit. But if you've done a different line of best fit, well, maybe it'll be closer to yours. Hard to say. Line of best fit really is done by I. And, a y-intercept here really is, in this case, quite an extrapolation, because our smallest score is about 180. And we're looking for a score of 0, so we're moving a long way away from our data set. Okay, so as we get further away from those known scores, right, our interpretations get less and less reliable. But nonetheless, That's not terribly different. We can see we've got a positive gradient of about 1 and a y-intercept. Oh, well, yeah, negative something. Anyway, that is a least squares regression line. If you want the equation of the least squares regression line for bivariate data, that's what you do. Right, set up your calculator for 2 variable data or bivariate data. Put in your data. Right, clear. Go to the stats to reg A and B. A is the y-intercept, B is the gradient. Yep. Okay, that's it. Got any questions? I'll see you in class.